When we're surrounded by this amazing environment all the time, it's easy to take it for granted and lose sight of. I attempt to distort the human form in such a way that we don't take it for granted, hopefully elevate it to being more than just a representation of a particular person, but elevated to this idea of a symbol. I learned to draw classically at the Atelier Lac in Northeast Minneapolis and at the Bougie Studio in South Minneapolis. Going to the Minneapolis Institute of Art a lot as a child, I was really influenced by the Dutch masters and the Italian Renaissance and German masters. So as an adult, I was intrigued with the idea of learning how to paint and draw like that. The intention behind my artwork started to take shape when I got interested in Russian and Byzantine iconography. In studying those traditions, I came to understand that a painting can be a lot more than just an aesthetic part of somebody's home or a design element in their room. In 2011, I took an intensive workshop on painting icons. And during that process, I learned that every element of the icon, from the materials to each level in the process, encapsulates a mystical and spiritual meaning to it. And that the process of making an icon in and of itself is a meditation, and it has a start and a finish. And hopefully throughout that journey, the artist would reach a deeper understanding of themselves. Within the traditions of iconography, the owner of the icon would place the icon in a prominent place in the home, and it was a daily focal point for them and a point of meditation and something that they would turn to when they were happy and had thanks, or when they were maybe in need of something or concerned about something. And so I really wanted to transfer that kind of ideology to my artwork. I guess I'm probably most well known for my paintings of women with long necks. For me, the head represents our spiritual nature and our divine potential, and the hands represent our worldly nature, how we think about ourselves and others and how we act towards ourselves and others. And in a lot of people, I think there's a disconnect between these two aspects of ourselves. And so the long neck acts as a visual representation of this tension or disconnect. And sometimes the arms are also disconnected from the rest of the body, and that just acts to reinforce that tension. So if a viewer views the artwork up close, they might see it as fragmented and various different parts disconnected from each other. But if they step away from the painting and view it from a distance, it takes on a wholeness and a completeness, and they realize that actually everything is in unison and in balance with each other, and that there is no tension. It's kind of like a puzzle where all the pieces are separate, but they're all in balance with the ones around them, and they're all connected. And without any of those individual pieces, the image isn't complete. I paint primarily women, partially because I was raised by my mother, and she's been kind of the biggest role model in my life in terms of artistic expression. I also have 5 sisters, so I kind of have this, I guess, reverence for the feminine. The men I usually paint kind of with a sense of noir and macabre lighting to them. Oftentimes I burn out the eyes because I want to play with this concept of the eyes being the window to the soul. And if there are no eyes, what does that say about the notion of soul? Does it exist? I've always painted people that were anonymous. There were people that I knew, or old photos that I would find at thrift stores or garage sales. I've typically stayed clear of what I call the preordained holy people of history. That would be, political, religious, or pop culture figures. But now, more recently, I'm starting to paint, infamous people. And the people that I'm picking, they're household names, but a lot of people wouldn't recognize them necessarily. For instance, I've done Sirhan, which a lot of people know who it is, but wouldn't recognize his face. Marketing is vital, and it really comes down to the individual artist to take the reins, to market themselves in any way they can. I started the Rogue Buddha Gallery in December of 1999, particularly because I couldn't get an art show for myself. I tried to show my artwork to a few different galleries in town, and I showed up with a stack of Polaroids that I had taken of my artwork leaning against my 1974 VW Beetle, which was bright green. And so that was in the shot with my artwork on a sunny day on a Polaroid. And I just cold called, showed up at these galleries and kind of got laughed out of all of them. And this was all because I had no idea how to approach marketing my own artwork or being a professional artist. That really gave me the impetus to start looking for a space where I could do something professionally and on a more legitimate level. Typically what we exhibit at the Rogue Buddha is figurative work, although there are some exceptions to that, and also typically painting, although there's some exceptions to that. Owning the Rogue Buddha Gallery has changed my work in terms of I became more curious about the figure as a result of seeing how people interact with artwork in the gallery, and it's also pushed me to strive for more quality. I'm currently applying gold leaf to the halo on a portrait I'm doing of Squeaky Fromm, the woman who attempted to assassinate Gerald Ford in 1975. I tend to think there's a little bit of more of a backstory than we know about involved with their situations. So I kind of want to explore that, both personally for myself and then also for others. So hopefully other people don't just take for granted what they read or see on the news. I really don't like the idea of being stagnant and painting one thing, even though I'm kind of known for painting women with long necks. So I'll still paint women with long necks, but I'm curious as to how it's going to transform over time so that hopefully 5 years from now they'll be completely different than what I'm doing now, because it'll mean that I've grown. And I think artwork should grow as the painter grows.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the State Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.